This is Minecraft, and this is a river.
Wow.
Very cool.
No way.
And I'm going to survive 100 days by a river in Minecraft Hardcore, which means if I die at any point, the world deletes itself. Along the water, I'll have to build a massive base. I need to get good gear, make sure I have enough food to survive, and at the end of the 100 days, I'll need to defeat the enderdragon.
What did I do?
So I can bring the dragon egg back to my base to complete the challenge. Enjoy the video. Alright, so I just spawned in and oh, looks like there's a village right next to me. This is a really great start because I can chop up these hay bales here for a bunch of bread. And I can steal this bed. Don't mind if I do. Oh, and look, there's sheep right here. I'll just make a quick sword to collect some mutton and wool from these guys. Sorry, sheep, and I crafted a bed. Oh, I crafted a bed. That's right, I already have one. Okay, well, ignore that. The mutton is still useful, at least I'm pretty hungry. I turned enough hay bales back in a week to make a stack of bread. Then I headed out a wee bit away from the village to start mining some stone to get myself some better tools. And thankfully I did because I ended up finding a really big cave system, which I would then spend literally all of night one mining. Well, that and I may have had a few close calls with the mobs, but we're alive. And now resource rich as well. I was able to find a load of coal and iron. And so I immediately started off day 2 by smelting all of my newfound iron. This is more than enough for me to make a full set of tools out of. And bam, look at me dripped out with my new toolbox. I am, however, not done mining just yet. This cave and surrounding area are super rich with iron and coal, so I grabbed some more of that before heading to bed on the cliffside later that night. When I woke up on day 3, not only did I have a beautiful view, but I was determined to find a permanent place to set up camp. This mountain is lovely, but it's just not gonna cut it. I started by running east approximately 1,000 blocks, and then I stumbled upon this little guy. Hello, Mr. Bumblebee. And then I found it. The sunlight shines perfectly, the endless wood all around. I think I found where I'm going to build. And even though I have a lot of wood already, I'm going to need a lot more. Yes, I'm looking at you, Mr. Tree. Starting day 4, I wanted to tackle the biggest problem when starting any new base. The ground. Having a level ground and a pretty area surrounding it is a must-have for any Minecraft world. So I grabbed my new iron shovel and got to work. I dug up dirt, I placed the dirt, and then I washed the dirt off my hands and I went to sleep. Day 5 was just more of this, so I'll save you guys a headache and skip ahead to day 6. Okay, yeah, nothing changed. I'm just placing dirt and digging more up. So let's just go to day 7. I trapped the cow in a hole so he can't escape. Don't worry, he is being treated well though. Isn't that right, cow? Well, he doesn't talk, but if he could, he'd tell you that I'm treating him well. I think he also said subscribe. I don't know.
Subscribe.
Did you guys hear that? Anyways, back to day 7. Oh yeah, it's just more terraforming, so let's just skip to day 8. The morning of day 8 was gorgeous. It made me want to go exploring, so that's exactly what I did. And in no time, I had found yet another cave system. Literally iron pouring out every surface, so I ended up spending most of day 8 mining iron. Since I had that extra bed with me though, I just ended up sleeping right outside the cave so I could jump back in the next day. The next day, you wouldn't believe it. I found diamonds! I was ecstatic. Sadly, there was only one, but so far day 9 mining has been very worthwhile. I'm gonna see if I can find any more down here before returning home. I decided to call the adventure there and head back to base camp with all my new finding. Finding my way back home though wasn't easy. After traversing mountaintops, swimming through rivers, and enduring some really poor weather conditions, I can finally say I made it back in one piece. Oh man, is it good to be home, even if it's not an actual home yet. Waking up on day 10 means I'm officially 10% into the 100 days, and I really don't have that much to show for it yet aside from a chest full of wood, some iron tools, and this grass patch I built. But that changes today. I started by digging out a hole where I wanted to build my house. After that, I used that dirt plus some extra to fill in more of the hill and grass areas. Before I knew it, darkness started creeping in, so I decided to go to bed. It's now day 11, and man do I feel great about this morning. With the house started, more wood than a woodpecker could peck, and a boatload of leaves, I think it's finally time to start building. I decided to go with birch for the floor since we have a lot more oak than any other wood type. I also smelted a ton of cobblestone and used the smooth stone to turn it into stone bricks for the walls. One small problem, I needed a lot of stone. But first, my tools started to break on me, so I made some new ones. Yikes, that is not enough stone in those furnaces. I guess I'm going mining for some more stone. But I won't bore you guys with that. So when I got back to the base, I started carving out some sections for the windows and doors, really starting to bring the build together more. But as the rain came in, so did the moon, so I went to sleep. I started the next morning off by building up some wooden supports along the outside of the building, but that wasn't without its own problems. A creeper decided he wanted to say hello and I was not having any of it. If you know me, I'm grumpy in the mornings. Anyways, after he was dealt with, I continued building. I decided to strip the logs to give them a more tan colored look. Then I built a cozy staircase on the side leading up to the second story from the ground. I went around adding some more small details before ending the day. On day 13, I continued building the second story of the house. I started with more wooden supports, but then I realized I don't even have a farm yet. How am I gonna feed the cows? I had initially found those hay bales which gave me a ton of wheat and bread on day 1, but it's day 13 now and that wheat isn't gonna last us forever. So I ran out collecting seeds to start a mini farm. I also needed a lot more stone, so I hit the mines before I ran back to the base camp to sleep. The next day, on day 14, I made a lot more progress on the house before night started setting in and I decided to go to sleep to start day 15. And man, when I woke up this morning, just looking at the skeleton of the house almost had me in tears. It was looking so good so far, but I knew I still had a lot of work ahead of me. I added a ton of detail to the second story, but night set, so on. Day 16, I spent the entire day building this absolute behemoth of a roof, but it's done now, and I can now safely sleep inside without the phantoms trying to have a slumber party with me. And let me just say, waking up on day 17 was probably my most rewarding morning yet. I mean, just look at how beautiful this house is so far. Like, I built that. That's me. And that's probably the most satisfying thing about this game, is after so many long, grueling, hot days in the sun, you can look back at your masterpiece and just admire every single small detail. Okay, well, enough of that. Time to get back to work. Since I had only one cow up until this point, I still needed a second one if I was going to breed them. Luckily, I found one up on this mountain and was able to lure him all the way back and push him into the hole with his buddy. Now I'll blur this part out, but basically what happened next was... For the rest of day 17, I finished building parts of the roof, adding lots of smaller details to really bring the build to life. But as always, night set in and it became super hard to see, so I went to sleep to start day 18. And when I woke up, I accidentally fell into the cow pit, and when I was getting out, one of the cows almost escaped, so I had to punch him in the face to get him back in the hole. I'm sorry buddy, but it's for your own good. That was a close call. The rest of day 18 I had to spend gathering more wood, if you can believe it. This build uses way too much, and before I knew it, I already had to go to sleep. Day 19 was more of the same. I needed more stone, so I went to the mine, waited for it to smelt, and continued on the house. I also started adding some fences on the outside to give the house some more character. Also at this point, I started freaking out just a little bit. I noticed these two roofs didn't quite line up properly, and this is really bad because I've built so much of the roof so far. I don't want to have to rebuild it just because my monkey brain decided to mess up the measurements by one block. Honestly, that's way too much work for right now, so I'm just gonna leave it alone and hopefully it'll just fix itself. Okay, sounds good? Sounds good. Okay, where were we? I decided to start a sugarcane farm since I'll need paper later for enchanting. Then I continued working on the exterior of the house a bit more before going to sleep to start day 20. Starting off day 20, I worked on the second story interior floor a bit more and also started adding some leaves on the exterior to blend it in a bit more with the surrounding area, giving it a bit more of a natural look. And of course, I needed more stone again, so I grabbed some of that, tended to the cows. Oh my god, look how many we have already! And night came, so I went to sleep to start day 21. Which really wasn't too interesting. Just more building, I smelted more stone, worked on an interior staircase, and had to gather more logs. And can I just say, people underestimate the effect Minecraft Brain has on your mood. Man, that stuff just sucks. Just makes you feel kinda all depressed and stuff all day. But it can also be sort of cozy too. Depends what you make of it, I guess. Anyways, all of that to say, I was super excited to start day 22. Man, do I have some big plans for today. I started the morning off by building more on the interior, before heading down to the river to pick up one super important resource that'll change this build completely. Can you guess what it is? Sand! Yes, we need glass. Glass is one of the cleanest blocks in the game, in my opinion. And on my way back, I found chickens. So I lured them back with seeds and dug them a hole next to the cows. These guys will be useful for making arrows later on with their feathers, but they also lay a ton of eggs, which are super easy to breed more chickens, so that'll be a nice consistent food source. And of course, right before I was about to go to sleep, a creeper tried creeping on me, but I wasn't having none of that, so I showed him my iron sword. Now that he's gone, I can finally go to sleep and start day 23. In the morning, I started by expanding the sugarcane farm along the entire riverbank because I'm going to need a lot of paper. The next thing I did was make some glass panes with my glass because you get 16 pieces for only 6 pieces of glass, making each piece of sand go a lot further. Plus it just looks better. And what's a house without a path? So I took my shovel, right clicked on the grass and turned them into pathways. And mixing in some planks for a bit of detail, I think it looks kinda nice. Next step was lighting. And we aren't in the 1500s anymore needing to use torches. We're in the 1600s, baby, and we got lanterns. Don't fact check that, I have no idea when lanterns were invented. Oh, apparently around 1500 BC. Okay. And just like that, the sun started setting yet again, so it was time to call it a day and start day 24. Today I had my first pillager raid. I was a bit confused since the village was quite far away, but I guess I caught a group roaming around. So I took care of those guys and went back to my usual duties of chopping wood. While in the forest, I stumbled upon a weird looking cave system, so I poked my head in and killed the mobs inside, and lucky me, there's some iron right here. I made my way further in, collecting some coal and more iron, like a lot more iron, like there was so much iron in here. But I wasn't here just for iron and coal. I wanted diamonds, which I found some. Let's go! I used the water bucket to climb back up out of the cave where I was ambushed by a ton of mobs. But I also made a new friend. Meet Gus, everyone. Dang, Gus is a G. Look at him take on that skeleton. And since I was here, I grabbed a few cherry blossom saplings to bring back to the base camp, along with some pumpkins I found as well. I didn't even realize it, but I mined for so long it's already day 25. That means we're officially 25% through the 100 days challenge. When I got back to the house, I started fixing up some more pathways and threw down some pumpkins near the path to add a bit more color. I also used bone meal to grow a few of those cherry blossom saplings we just picked up. It's also probably about time we moved the animals into a proper pen. They've just been kind of living in these tiny holes for now that I dug on day 3. But as always, it started to get dark, so I went to bed. But as I was approaching the house, I could hear all sorts of mobs inside. Yep, 2 zombies kitted out in leather waiting for me to come up the stairs. After I dealt with those guys, I passed out quickly, and in the morning I was greeted by a guest downstairs, an enderman. These guys drop ender pearls, which are super useful for 2 things, teleporting around and making eyes of ender, which we'll use to officially beat the game, but more on that later. Since it was already day 26 and I was moving a bit slow, I needed to come up with a game plan to move some things along faster. Step 1 was getting the house lit up. I don't want any more zombies thinking they can just move in whenever they want. Step 2 was moving all the animals over to their new homes. I'm sure they'll be much happier above ground. Finally, step 3 was expanding the wheat farm. We're going to need a lot of leather from the cows if we want to enchant some good gear later on. Oh man, it's dark already. On the morning of day 27, I went foraging through the forest for mushrooms and flowers, trying to collect some small things that really bring the build to life. And suddenly, I was face to face with a group of sheep. I really wanted these sheep. Unfortunately, the only other ones I found throughout this entire challenge was on day 1, when I killed them for their mutton and a second bed. And now this new group I just found are really far away from the base camp. So I spent the rest of the day and all night long luring them back. Man, this was challenging, but eventually we made it and I was finally able to rest. In the morning, I built a sheep a pen and started moving them over from their hole. And honestly, I haven't really talked about it at all up until this point, but these leaves are driving me nuts. Like, they're everywhere all of the time. Sorry, I just had to let that out really quick. With my wool though, I was able to make some carpets which I dyed red from those flowers I picked up this morning, adding a really nice touch of color on the inside. But yet again, as night fell, I went to bed. Day 29 wasn't anything too special. I did a couple of chores around the base. I thought it would be a good idea to dye the sheep red so that way I don't need to waste as much red dye on making carpets. But now they just kind of look funny. Oh well, we can always turn them white again. I also accidentally bred a white and red red one together, so now there's this weird pink color. I ended the day off by moving and organizing a bunch of the chests inside the house before going to sleep to start the next day. Day 30 was boring. Just completing some regular chores, collecting more wood, tending to the animals, the farms, all that jibber jabber. But that's getting a bit repetitive at this point, so let's just skip to day 31 when I found this giant, epic, insane, mystical monstrosity of a cave. From up here, I could see that there's a lot of iron, so I used my water bucket to drop on down. And after mining all of that, I went a little deeper. And that was when I struck gold. No, like literal gold. I haven't found any gold yet, so this was like a really big find. Gold will be super useful for trading with piglins in the Nether, but more on that later. And ooh, more diamonds as well. Alright, you pesky skeleton, frig off. Alright, bed down, let's sleep and get out of here. The next morning, I went exploring through another cave system I'd found. This one even had a dungeon inside. Nothing too crazy though, but holy moly. I don't know why, but this cave had so many diamonds. It felt never ending. I seriously thought I had died and gone to a Minecraft heaven because I was finding so many. And when I left the cave, I ran into a massive group of sheep. I wasn't going to lure all of them home though, so I had a little fun doing some jump crits on all of them. And at last, my sweet, sweet bed. Oh, did I miss you ever so dearly? Come here, my precious. Waking up on day 34 with chests full of iron, gold, and diamonds, more animals than I could possibly eat, farms growing exponentially, a beautiful house, my best friend Gus with me. I truly felt like I was on top of the world. But that would be if I could just get rid of all of these stinking leaves. Anyways, for the rest of day 34, I just added some small details around the house, like some carpet, a chest here, a few furnaces there, nothing crazy. But then day 35, as soon as I woke up, I had a group of pillagers trying to cross the river. This was extremely hard to fight because I still hadn't made a bow yet, and because they were in the water, I couldn't get close to them without them shooting at me and pushing me back. But Gus just charged straight in there, absolutely mauling them. I was so proud of our boy. After the raid, I got back to work on the farms, did a little population control, and before I knew it, night was here already. In the morning, I checked the courtyard to make sure all the animals were good, just a routine as usual, and then I found this baby chicken wandering around on his own. What do you guys think we should name him? For now, let's just lure this guy back to the chicken pen so he can be with his mom. After that, I went to collect a bunch more dirt to keep expanding the wheat farm. That took up most of the day, so I'll see you on day 37. Good morning, sleepyheads. If you know, you know. Anyways, today is a big day. Here's the game plan. So there's this village located a bit upstream, near where we spawned on day 1. My plan is to go in, place a boat down, get a villager inside, and move them all the way back here. Now I know what you're thinking. Spawny, you're nuts. You can't possibly do that. Well, let me just tell you, my middle name is Nuts. It's not actually Nuts, I just did that. Just did that for the bit. Anyways, after I get him in the boat, I use my shovel to path my way down to the water and escort him back home. This isn't kidnapping, right? Like, they're all adults. I'm just kind of boring them. Anyways, this journey will also be incredibly long. I'll probably have to stop midway through so I could actually see where I'm going at one point. Like, probably have to take like a sleep or something. And I know you're probably asking, why are you doing all of this? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. Okay, fine. I secretly just wanted a prisoner beneath my home. It's normal, okay? Don't judge me. And just like that, it was the end of day 39. Day 40 mainly consisted of more terraforming. I had 4 stacks of dirt, so I built out the farm some more before unfortunately needing to do some population control on the sheep and cows. And OMG, are you kidding me? Why are there more leaves on the ground? I'm gonna need like a leaf blower or something. The one leaves I do like though are these oak. I went and got some more of these to build some hedges around the pathways. Then I set the furnaces to run overnight and went to bed to start day 41. This morning mostly consisted of decorating the inside. I wanted to add a table to make it feel more homey. Now this way all of my friends can eat with me, even if those friends are just a few sheep, 2 cows, and a couple of chickens. These walls are also looking kind of plain. perhaps our guests would appreciate some artwork. A painting there, a painting over here, put two like that, and I think it looks really good. Oh, you know what would look really good in here? Some bookshelves, which we can now make because look how big our sugarcane farm has gotten. And we have our infinite source of leather with the moo-moos.
Shut up.
Place a couple there, a few more there, and dang, this place is really starting to come together. It's time to sleep and start day 42. Adding a bit more to the dining area when I woke up, I think this new addition looks really good. I then went outside and harvested some crops before expanding the farm a bit more. After that, I went mining to get a bit more stone. I fed the animals and spent the rest of the night smelting stone. When I woke up on day 43, there was a nice surprise waiting for me outside the door. Hello, Mr. Goldie. Get it? Gold zombie? Goldie? Nah? That was a bad one? Okay, no, that's fine. Like, my feelings aren't hurt. But bro pulled up on me completely dripped out. I'm just hoping he doesn't have a bunch of buddies. Today though, I want to start on a new building separate from the main house. What's the purpose of said building, you ask? You will just have to wait and see. I started by laying the foundation and adding a few small details, but as night set in, I couldn't see anymore, so I went to bed to start day 44. Of course, with the new build, we're going to need a lot more wood, so I took to the forest to collect some more, and when I got back, I started on these vertical pillars, which will support the rest of the structure. Adding a few fences, and it's already come together pretty nicely. Do you have any guesses as to what this might be yet? I was able to fill in most of the walls, but as always, the friggin' sky turns black and I can't see anymore, so I'll see you on day 45. Day 45! This is going to be a big day. First things first, I again need more stone. To the mines! When I got back, I threw all of the stone into the furnaces and continued working on the new building, adding some doors and a roof, but because I spent the whole day underground, night quickly crept up on me and I had to go to bed. On day 46, I started working on the roof of the new building. Also, has anyone seen Gus? I haven't seen him around for a while. I think the mobs might have gotten to him. Can we get a rip Gus in the comments? Long live Gus. Anyways, before I knew it though, night had already set in and I was ready for bed. Day 47, I started filling in the roof with wooden stairs and finished up some smaller details on the outside. I also added these barrels by the windows, and by now, I'm sure you can tell what this is. A farmhouse, where I'm gonna keep all my farming related items like seeds, blocks, all that sort of stuff. And as night set in, I had one more thing I wanted to do, so I ran inside the farmhouse to make some signs really quick, and when I opened the front door, there was a zombie wearing enchanted iron armor just waiting for me. Thankfully, I could keep him on the other side of the door and just hit him through it, but that was a close call. Probably best I get to bed before more show up. Day 48, I continued adding small details around the interior and exterior to help really bring the build to life. I then spent the rest of the day fine-tuning the paths around the base to give everything a bit more character. The next morning, I went to gather more stone. We can never have enough stone. With this stone though, I wanted to build some walls interweaving the crops. One, to help keep the pesky mobs out, but two, it also just looks nice. But as the routine goes, I'll see you guys in the morning to start day 50. Day 50. We are officially halfway through the 100 days, and if this is the progress we've made so far, I can't wait for you guys to see day 100. The next morning on day 51, I added a few leaves beside the farmhouse and organized the chest a bit. I also threw down this large painting against this wall for a bit of color and planted some more saplings around the area since I sort of ravished it when I moved in. While I was out exploring, I stumbled upon a half-built nether portal. The chest had some gold tools in it, so I borrowed a few of them, but right now I'm not looking to travel to the nether or even enchant my tool, so maybe I'll come back here another day for the obsidian. I spent the rest of the day chopping wood before heading back to the house to add some details around the farm. That's when a mini problem might have occurred. I tried quick placing a block after destroying the chicken fence and they wasted no time escaping. Enough of them stayed in the pen at least though, so I'll just let those other guys roam free. The next morning, I said hello to our little friend beneath the house. He seems to be doing well, and since he now has a farming job and I know he won't leave, I think we can let him out. See, I told you guys I wasn't kidnapping him. He wants to be here, I promise you. And since he's going to be staying here a while, maybe we should renovate his room a little bit. Starting with the floor, next to walls, and let's finish it up with a proper door. The next thing I wanted to address was these animal pens. They're in the way a bit of a future build I'm planning, so for now I'm just going to dig them back out of the ground and I'll build them future pens later. and night fell, so I went to sleep. The next morning, I collected a bit more wood and started finishing up the farm wall, adding a few more lanterns to lighten it up. I also need more glass, so I went to grab some more sand before night fell again and I went to sleep. The morning of day 54, I decided it was probably time I made myself some diamond armor. I mean, I have so many and they're just sitting in this chest right now. And what better way to retire my old armor than by putting it on some armor stands. I also thought it would be really cool to see everything we've built so far, so I swam across the river and hiked up the mountain. Wow, it's really coming together nicely so far. But we're not done yet. I have some big plans to add to what we have already. But enough admiring, I want to go adventuring. Hello, cows! Oh, a cave. Oh, I hope no one minds if I just poke my head in here. Oh, dang, a mine shaft. Not much of one, though. I mined my way out of here, then continued adventuring through the night. That's when I came across an acacia village. Though there wasn't anything valuable in the chests, I did, however, steal their borrow their hay bales. And then I found this cute little guy. I've never seen a dressed up baby villager before. He's just so cute. While I was here, I picked up a few decorations like the bell before heading out. I've been away for so long at this point, it's an entirely new day already. Then as I was passing this weird cliff, I found another dungeon. This one at least had some golden apples for me, but still no leads or saddles yet. I then made my way back home to stash all of my new findings. For the rest of day 56, I added some hay bales around the base to really give it that farming vibe, and I cooked up some of the meat we have. The next morning, I went out to gather more logs before getting started on a new build beside the farmhouse. I added some stone brick walls before adding some wooden supports on the front. Also, a little tip, if you guys didn't know, you can spawn tall grass with bone meal on top of grass. And you can also get an assortment of flowers. So I ran around the base bone mealing everything before going to sleep. The next morning on day 58, I continued working on the windmill. First by raising the main walls, and then I added some stone walls around the outside to give it some more texture. I continued up by adding some more wood before having to head to the mines to grab some more stone. And then I added a bit more to the build before going to sleep. The next morning, I needed more wood again, so after chopping down a bunch more logs, I continued working on the windmill. Building up entirely with wood at this point, I finished up most of the top section. Now mainly just missing the part that turns with the wind. I know, what do you call that part? Like the turbine? But isn't like turbine pronounced turbine? I don't, you know what? I don't know at this point. We're just gonna call it the wind spinny thingy. Waking up on day 60, I continued building out the windmill, adding a little balcony before running out of wood again. So I got some more logs before heading to bed. The next day, I worked on the interior and added some more leaves to the exterior before heading to sleep. On day 63, I finally started working on the wind turning part. This part took me 2 full days to build, but I think it turned out okay. And I'm still not quite done yet. For the rest of day 63, I finished up the windmill by adding some smaller details on the outside. I also went exploring and ended up getting a couple arrows to the face. Don't worry though, I'm okay. On day 64, I started adding some white wool on the outside of the windmill. And later that evening, I noticed our friend walking around out of uniform. So I followed him and he went back to the composter to pick up the job again. Not really sure what happened there. Hey, you care to explain yourself, buddy? Hey, don't walk away from me while I'm talking to you. Day 65, I started off the morning by admiring what we've built so far, before heading back to the mines for more stone. I'm starting on a new build today. Can you guess what this one will be? Yes, it's a water fountain. I don't know who guessed that, but like, here it is. It didn't really take me that much time to build. The next morning on day 66, I decided I wanted to expand the base towards the river more. I started by adding a ton of wooden supports in a somewhat circular shape around the edge of the river. I filled it in a bit before it got dark and went to bed. The next morning on day 67, I continued filling in the boardwalk. I'm thinking I might expand this into a fishing hut later, but we'll see how things go. As usual though, I needed more wood, so I took a small break from building to gather some logs. When I got back, I continued expanding the boardwalk up the hill, and as night set in, I just took a second to admire how beautiful everything looks all lit up at night. The following morning, I went around adding some fencing and lighting along the boardwalk, touching it up with some smaller details like trapdoors and stone walls. Not much else happened, so I'll see you on day 69. We're now almost 3/4 through the 100 days. This morning, I started by expanding the dock area and touching up some pathways, adding some leaves and removing some leaves. Though as always, it became dark, so I went to bed. On day 70, I started by adding a mini farm next to our next to our friend the farmer, which we haven't given him a name yet. I'm thinking we call him Fred the farmer. It's got a nice ring to it. My axe had also broken the other day, so let's make a new one. And with my new axe, I went to chop down some more trees. And just as night sets, I started on a new animal pen before going to sleep to start day 71. I needed more wood again, and at this point, I've probably chopped down an entire large chest full of logs, but wood just looks so good in the builds. I seriously can't help myself. I started with some wooden supports on the front of the pen before raising the walls and adding some back supports. Filling in the roof with slabs, I wanted a staired rise from the back. I think it looks good. Now let's get the chickens moved over here. Come here, chicky chicks. Before I knew it, it was night again, so I went to sleep. The next day, I wanted to start on a new mountain build. I started by mining out all the granite before coming back and building out the start to an enchantment room. Throughout day 73, I continued working on the entrance and renovating the inside. On day 74, I found horses. And then you wouldn't believe who I found. I found Gus. I thought he was gone forever. Come on, Gus, you're coming home. You silly guy. Unfortunately, while I was out, Fred the farmer got bit by a zombie. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with him. We also need a name for the horse. I'm thinking Alfredo.
No.
Day 75, I headed back to the mines. Not for stone this time though, I have a new mission. Gather obsidian so I can make an enchantment table. After mining the obsidian, I continued through the cave and found some diamonds. And another mine shaft. After exploring some more, I headed back up to the surface and realized it was an entirely new day already. When I got back to the base on day 76, I placed down the enchantment table in the new mountain build. Since I want these enchants to be perfect though, I'm going to need a few more bookshelves first. I took Alfredo out to go exploring some more. Upon arriving at this village, I hitched Alfredo to a fence before going inside to sleep. Hey, sorry pal, I'm gonna be needing this bed. It's a really important matter. I just really need your bed. Wait, what's that noise outside? 2 zombies? Really? Let's just take care of those guys. Oh no, that is a lot more than 2 zombies. After taking out the mini army, I had to fight the horsemen. It was a close fight, but thankfully I had Gus with me. And Mr. Horseman just so happened to leave his zombie horse behind. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? We now have a zombie horse. The excitement was short-lived though. Suddenly there was another ambush from the zombies. I was really worried Gus might not make it, but of course he survived. Gus is a goat. Well, he's a dog, but he's the goat of all dogs. Okay, I need to get out of here, and on my way back to the house, I got ambushed again. And that's when it happened. How could you do this to him? Filled with anger, I demolished the remaining zombies before I beelined it straight home to go to bed. But of course, I can't sleep because there's more zombies outside. After taking care of that, I could finally sleep to start day 77. When I woke up, there were flaming zombies running around everywhere. One of them even lit me on fire, so I jumped into the water fountain to cool off. And that's when the next thing happened. You see, zombie horses are nocturnal. They can only be out during nighttime when there's no sun. I completely forgot about this, and when we left the water... 2 devastating losses back to back. I'm not really doing too well. Long live. Wait, we didn't even name them. Okay, wait, maybe just comment like long live and then make up a name in the comments, and that way anyone reading the comments gets really confused. I'm also not sure why, but these zombies are amping up their attacks, and I'm going to need to enchant my gear soon before they launch an attack I can't defend against. For the rest of day 77, I just sort of wandered around aimlessly, before heading back to the house to finish up those bookshelves for the enchanting room. Though as always, I needed more logs, so I chopped some more wood up before heading to bed. On day 78, I headed over to the mountain build to place down our new bookshelves and make our very first enchant. Sharpness 3, that's it. Okay, well hopefully the next one is better. Unbreaking 3 and efficiency 4, let's go. This enchant is much better. But enchanting my tools raw isn't how we're going to get the best enchants. For that, we're going to need an anvil. The goal is to enchant some really good books and combine those enchants onto our tools later. But first, you always do start by enchanting the base tool itself. And with enchants as good as these, I might not even need to enchant books. I repaired my pickaxe quickly. 2 diamonds just for half health? Okay, that's kind of a scam, but whatever. Let's just see what I'm going to get. And oh baby, efficiency 4 and unbreaking 3 again. Let's go. Chest plate next. Alright, not too bad, but I'm out of levels now and can't get another 30 enchant, so I'm gonna have to come back later to finish enchanting my gear. I decided to head out exploring again, and that's when I found a jungle biome with these cute little guys. I hope Gus doesn't get jealous. I'm thinking I'll name them Gary and Wilson. I headed back to the base with our new friends, and I think they'll really like the house. Aw, they even followed me to bed. So cute. On the morning of day 79, I gave them their new perching spots next to Alfredo before working on terraforming the grass a bit more near the sheep. I got to work on a new build placing birch planks for the floor before heading out to chop more wood. As it got dark, I added a couple of wooden supports around the walls before heading to bed to start day 80. This morning, I got back to work on the new build, adding some stone walls around the supports. I continued to build up the walls with planks before starting to taper off the roof with some stone bricks. But as daylight fades, night set in, so I went to bed. The next morning, I immediately got started on the roof of the build. And then I started working on the front by adding some fencing before adding some smaller details inside and going to bed. Day 82 started off as most mornings do, by gathering more wood. Seriously, I need a stat that keeps track of how many logs I've chopped at this point. I then continued adding a few details inside, like this fence inside the window slots. Some support beams up top, and a few lights. Can you guess what this is yet? It's a barn! Which we will then move all of these moo-moos over to their new home. We should probably also let the sheep go too. We kinda trapped them underground while building the barn. Be free, my sheep! Go live your lives! The next day, I added a few carpets inside the barn, and bred a couple of baby cows before heading back across the river to admire what we've built so far. It's really coming together nicely. Later that night, when I went to sleep, I couldn't stop thinking of how I could get revenge for Gus. And I think there's only one way to do that. I'm going to need to defeat the enderdragon. But with only 16 days left, I'm not sure I'll have enough time. It's going to be close, but I have to try. I have to do this for Gus. But in order to even get to the enderdragon, we're going to need 2 things. We need ender pearls and blaze rods. Both of those thankfully can be found in one place, but that is a very dangerous place, the Nether. One small slip up and this whole series could be over. I had some obsidian already, so I took Alfredo out to find that destroyed nether portal from day 51. Okay, here it is. Now it's just time to put the obsidian down. Now lighting it up, and whoa, okay, yeah, that's a real nether portal, alright. I'm going to have to tie Alfredo up to a fence post so he doesn't wander off. Don't worry, buddy. I'll come back for you. I took one last gulp and I stepped inside. When I hopped out the other end, I was immediately getting attacked by a piglin. These guys will attack anyone not wearing gold armor, which, thinking about it now, I regrettably didn't bring any with me. I picked up a few quartz I found, and then I fought off a few more piglins and kept exploring. That's when suddenly, 2 ghasts decided they wanted smoke. I took out my bow and I shot both their fire charges back at them, giving them a little taste of their own medicine. I continued through the nether, bridging over lava, fighting this weird pig thing, and then I found it, the nether fortress. Oh, the blaze spawner is actually right here, that's pretty convenient. I made quick work of the blazes, building a little box around the spawner so I could farm them more easily. The next thing I needed were ender pearls. We need to combine blaze powder and ender pearls together to make Eyes of Ender, which will help us find the entrance to the end. I got enough blaze rods and headed back, and I didn't really notice, it's now day 87, we're running out of time. I enchanted my boots, did a bit of mining, and then went to bed. Day 88, I took Alfredo back to the nether portal and went back in to find some ender pearls. One method of getting them is trading with the same piglins that tried to attack me. Coming equipped with gold boots this time though, I know they won't attack me, and I can actually trade them gold with hopes of getting ender pearls out of them. Unfortunately, this guy decided he was gonna give me everything but ender pearls. So I decided he was no longer of use after he ate all my gold, and I went exploring to find our second method. This one, you can get a lot of ender pearls, it's just a little bit more work and you need a very specific biome. This biome does spawn in the nether, but while I was tunneling through this rock, I had a really close encounter with this lava. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Oh my gosh, that is lava, oh dear. I ended up being okay and decided to just use my fire resistance potion I got from the piglin and ignore all the other lava I'd run into. After running around the nether for what felt like hours, I finally found the biome. I do not know what it's called, world, all I know is Endermen spawn here, and that's all I need. After getting just over a stack of Ender Pearls, I decided it was probably time to head home and go to sleep. It is now day 91, ladies and gentlemen, and that means we have only 10 days left to defeat the Ender Dragon and get our revenge for Gus. This morning, I started out by making all the Eyes of Ender we'd need. I ran around the base a bit, did a bit of mining, mainly just procrastinating before going to bed, because on day 92, I'm going to be setting out to find the entrance to the end. I woke up feeling ready. I knew today was the day we were going to find the end. I jumped out of the front door and started sending out the Eyes of Ender. I'll save you guys the journey as it gets pretty repetitive, so here's a quick time lapse. It was actually a really inspiring journey. Going through the jungle, the mountaintops, the acacia biome, you forget how beautiful the world is when you live and build in such a confined area. And then it happened. The Eye of Ender told me it was right here. I dug down and sure enough, there it was. Not the exact entrance, but within these hallways, somewhere, there is an end portal. Oh, it's actually right here. Okay, that was easy. If I can just get these silly creepers to leave me alone, that would be great. I put the Eyes of Enders into their slots, and then it happened. The entrance to the end appeared. Well, this is it. We've been preparing for this very moment. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, wow, it's actually really pretty here. Anyways, time to stop messing around and let's get serious. This is for Gus. Let's do this thing! I immediately started out by taking out the healing beacons. Those are a crucial first step to ensure the dragon doesn't keep healing all the damage you do to it. And now it's time to fight the beast. I shot a barrage of arrows at it, but before I knew it, I had run out. This really isn't good. Luckily, you can still try and fight him with a sword, though it's really hard. If you can lure the dragon to fly down, he can actually get stuck on the bedrock and you can just hit him with your sword. But he doesn't stay there for long. But sure enough, with a little bit of determination, we did it. We slayed the Ender Dragon and got revenge for Gus. I took the dragon egg with me and I stored it in the windmill. Later that night, I went to sleep on day 99. And woke up on day 100. Thank you guys for watching the video. YouTube thinks you guys will like this one next. Until then, we'll see you in the next episode.